Alrighty guys, it's been a while, but we're back with more Path of Exile. We're here to finish off the rest of the game. I know I've been distracted with Diablo a little bit, but we still got some time for the rest of the season to finish off the rest of the gameplay for the walkthrough. So starting right off, any of the pieces of gear I will link down below in a link so you guys can see all the pieces of gear. It is optional if you want to do some of these things that will potentially increase your DPS. In the gameplay, you'll see that I won't have all of these. This is just kind of like as I progress, I'm just recording this part at the very end. So if you do happen to have the extra divine orbs, you can see some of the different items that we got that can really help out. Things like Nimbus, things like Asanos Mark. But you could still play the game perfectly fine without these items. This is a really cheap helmet. This one, like, you can absolutely get. It's just that it allows me to play this playstyle where I use like lightning warp and teleport, which definitely speeds up the build, but it doesn't actually add DPS. But you'll see in the gameplay that it is kind of fun, but it's got a big risk, which is, well, you don't have any survivability really with this helmet. Nimbus doesn't really add any defensive stats other than, of course, getting just a little bit of lightning resistance, but allows us to basically socket in something else instead of running the returning projectiles support gem. So it does help out, but again, the gameplay that you'll see, we won't have like all these awesome things in it, but eventually, if you can run them, definitely go for it. But yeah, we're going to be doing the Elder, and then we've got Cirrus, and we still have the Maven, so that way you can complete everything in the game. But let's go ahead and do the Elder first, then we're going to do the Uber Elder, and then you'll see some more bosses. So, well, the next thing that we're going to do is we will show off the different Guardians. So we already did the Shaper Guardians, but now we're going to do the Elder Guardians. And just like the other ones before, you just do the map. Always doing these scoured is ideal. And if you want to, one thing that does make this easier on the Atlas passive is if you get the Pact with Energy, which adds this plus damage and resistances. And it's really great because you can throw these maps in and click on one of the sulfites, and it will allow you to maintain that bonus stat all the way through. So as far as these maps go, they're super easy in terms of like the boss. The boss is not difficult at all. It's not like the Guardians where it has a mechanic. Other than in the very beginning, there is something different where the boss would normally appear. And we're just going to do this one real quick. Where the boss normally appears, the Elder basically like corrupts the monster and turns him into something else. And there is kind of a mechanic, but most of them are such a walkover. You basically just want to be behind them. So we'll go through all of them. So there are 4 of these other Guardians. We're just going to skip out on the Legion here. So I just want to show off these. Grab any shrines that we see. Is that a 16? Oh, okay. But where the boss normally would be in any of the maps that you do, because there's 4 of them, instead the boss will be replaced by a portal that leads you to another room. So we're going to go ahead and open up this. So there's several different other Guardians. You'll see that there's where it says map is occupied by Constrictor, Purifier, Enslaver, and this one is the Eradicator. So normally where you'd see the boss and you'd want to fight the boss, it takes a second, the boss gets kind of killed, then he absorbs them, and then there's a portal that comes out. And you can get these maps just by a drop, or you can trade these with other players. They're pretty cheap though. They're not like super expensive. But if you want to also remove Lightning Warp, that's an option. Like, the whole add Lightning Warp to the build is 1000% optional. But I think it makes the gameplay way more fun. Is it more dangerous? Absolutely. Because you have no control over where your character kind of goes. And you have less survivability because the helmet itself does not give you a lot of survivability at all. But the bosses are really easy. I mean, they don't really do that much damage as long as you maintain your resistances. Sometimes it'll warp out to another area and it'll go to another room. But if you see anything on the ground, just try to step on it. That's why I probably wouldn't recommend playing Lightning Warp with it. But since we have these Mirage Archers, I actually kind of like it. Like, I might just keep this Lightning Warp in here. Ideally, we would probably put Hydrosphere Tornado in a separate setup for like a boss. So I can have like both. Alright, and it's gone. So we have one of the fragments here. So we have the Eradication, and we're going to get the Enslaver one, and we're going to go through all of I'll just show all the bosses. Oh, we got a thicket bow. Alright, now we're going to fight Kaom. Throw maybe our Hydrosphere over there. I like this area. So you can only damage them, I believe it's like maybe like a third, and then it's going to warp us to another area. But with these Mirage Archers, I kind of like that we can teleport, so we can always have like the maximum amount. I think with like Nimbus Ring or projectiles returning, this would actually be pretty good as well. Okay, another one down. And in these areas, you can't throw up a portal. You have to like wait for the portal to come back, or you can just log out and log back in. But as long as you pick up the fragment, that's all you need to do. All right, next one up, doing the Constrictor. But pretty much, just stand behind the bosses, and you'll be okay. These ones I would say are easier than the Shaper Guardians. The Shaper Guardians, they kind of have a mechanic where unless you meet like insane DPS numbers, which eventually we can get to, you're not going to be like one-shotting them before they even move. I mean, I would say that's like close enough. Like as in, we melted it so fast it didn't really get to do anything. Just looking where it's like kind of standing and go behind it. We can actually get some more life leech here.
Immeasurably beautiful.
Okay. Another one down. So we have one more. And then we get to do the Elder Boss. Alright, we are now doing the Purifier. It takes so long for him to do his little animation. But like the first time you see it, I guess it's kind of cool. Try to stand behind him, but like, because I'm running right now the Lightning Warp, not always going to be an option. I think we dealt enough damage on that new area. Oh, dang. We just popped Ball Eye Shot too. Like, what the nice thing with having all these Mirage Archers, though, is, like, they fire for me, and I can just, like, walk around and teleport. It's so good for map clear. Okay, here we go. I probably shouldn't stand in that AoE. Oh. Alternatively, we can log out to save, like, the brief moment. Okay. Oh. Didn't let me go in the portal. Okay. So now that we've collected all 4 pieces, we can now do the boss, the Elder. Let's go ahead and do the Elder. So, What we're going to need, obviously, is we need all of these, but I'm going to go ahead and recommend, if you want to, you can run a Forbidden Taste, and you can craft use when you take a Savage hit on your bench, and that will allow you to maybe survive one of the attacks that does come by, but some of the things may one-shot you here. So what we're going to do is we're going to swap off the Teleporting Helmet, because the Teleporting Helmet will more than likely get us killed. So what we're going to throw in there is Precision, as well as Hatred, and then if you want to, because Blizzard Crown requires the monster to have negative resistances in order for the thing to actually be good. Most of the bosses towards the end of the game, for all the resistances, it's usually about 50%. So if we check out, like, this is like the PoEDB. If we go to the resistances over here, you can see it has like 50 of each. So we needed to at least apply 51 negative resistance. An easy way to do this is get Awakened Cold Penetration support. You also have this, which will also apply exposure. Then I have like exposures at least 17%, and then we have elemental penetration, so we'll reach those numbers no problem. So we're gonna go ahead and cast up our buffs over here, and we are gonna go in. So with this boss fight, there is a mechanic where he can freeze you, and it's really annoying. So ideally you don't want to get hit. It's called Crystallized Fear, where it basically makes it so you can't move. So I'll go over all of the mechanics for the boss while we're actually fighting him. So let's go ahead and go on in. But you don't need your movement speed flask, so you can feel free to remove it. So here's how this boss fight is going to work. So he starts out, you can just start attacking him immediately. We're going to get all of our Barrage Archers. Kind of missed the fast teleporting, but... So when he does this ability, this donut, you want to stand on the inside of it. Then when he comes out, he's going to do this ability. Oh, that's a really, really unlucky location here. But he's going to do this like half circle moon attack, if you want to call it that. And we got hit by the Crystallized Fear. If this happens, you're pretty much just going to have to rip. We can try to pop a heal. We were lucky. We did have both of our things up for our flask. However, you cannot throw portals to reset. Like if you were to try to reset to get your flask back up, yeah, no can do. Alright. So we'll go ahead and keep on attacking him. He might do the donut ability again. But this is a tough boss fight. So later we're going to have to fight him and Shaper at the same time. So the only two mechanics really are the donut. And sometimes you get kind of unlucky in his positioning of using the little half moon attack that like sucks you in. He does this little like suck ability, and yeah, you can get frozen if you get hit by too many of his stuffs. And you will be rooted in place. But we happen to have Forbidden Taste, and it worked out. I popped it twice. It gives me full HP. So, hey, it worked. If you want to run more life flasks, you can do that to make the boss fight way easier. But yeah, if you notice your damage isn't high enough at getting cold penetration, it doesn't have to be an awakened one. But I think Awakened Cold Penetration is really cheap at this point. Like, a lot of stuff in this game, unless it's like crazy good, it just kind of just slowly goes down in price because everyone is upgrading. And this build's still within a couple divines. You can get this build no problem. We haven't gotten any insane pieces of gear yet. So during this phase, you just kind of want to attack all the portals. Later, it will matter when you actually do Shaper and the Elder at the same time, because it matters for the Watcher's Eye a lot more because you get a more valuable one, you get a 3-mod one. Oh, he's doing one of his abilities. We're actually using dash now. Let's see if we can get him down. And once you get him down, Zana will be like, come over to me. You stand inside here. If you don't, well, you're gonna pop. Okay, so he dropped a Fragment of Terror, and we got a amulet. Okay, so the most important thing that you can get actually several different things from this, but the more important thing that you're going to eventually want to get is, so you know how we just defeated 4 bosses to get all those fragments. Now there's a chance that he'll drop these, but basically to fight the Shaper and the Elder at the same time, which is the Uber, you need to collect the fragments. So you need to get 4 of these fragments, which is RNG. Now, you can keep on doing this manually by yourself if you want to, or you could just purchase this off of another player, and then you can do the Shaper and the Elder at the same time. It's kind of a tough boss fight, but you can see we had, relatively, I would say, no problem doing it. And again, you can increase your DPS, but if you want to, you can run Grace. But again, most of the stuff will one-shot you. Like, if you're held in spot, well, you're pretty much usually going to die. Like, the Grace is not going to save you. A lot of the boss fights in Path of Exile, the boss does so much damage that you're just going to die to, like, the spell attack. If you have spell suppression, that helps out significantly, but Grace isn't going to help out too much, because there's not very many bosses that will do, like, basic attacks. It's like usually a slam or a spell, and those things are just almost guaranteed one-shots. You can build your character to become tanky enough, but it's unrealistic for most players to even want to do that. It's just much better. Learn the boss fight. Learn how to dodge. If you die, you got 6 tries. You have 6 mistakes before you get no more chances. But that is the Elder completed. Alrighty, so the next thing we want to do is actually do the Uber Elder. So it's going to require you to get the Fragment of Knowledge, Shape, Terror, and Emptiness. So you can buy these from other players if you want to, or keep on doing Shaper, keep on doing Elder, and you'll eventually get these to drop. So this boss fight is actually going to be quite challenging, as it's going to require you to fight Shaper and Elder both at the same time. The boss fight is not easy, so don't worry if you rip on it. It is definitely not easy to actually complete. So what I did is I swapped some flasks. I'm just going to run a bunch of life flasks. I like the ones where we get an extra flash charge if we get a crit strike, and then I'm still going to be running my Forbidden Taste, as it's a really nice thing. If you just get hit really hard, it just activates automatically. It saved us in the last one. And if you can get a 6-link ire, it's not a bad idea to get one, as it can actually give you a bonus here. So what I added in was Ensnaring Arrow. It just makes the target take more projectile damage, and also each snare applies less movement speed to the unique enemies. So it can help out a little bit, but nonetheless, that's what we're going to be throwing in. So let's go ahead and do the boss fight. This one is going to be, again, quite challenging, so don't do it with like Maven or anything, especially if it's your first time. We're going to be fighting 2 bosses at once. So yeah, let's go ahead and go on in. So you'll see at the start, Elder will take Shaper. So what you ideally want to try to do is kill the Shaper first, because, well, you can't actually kill the Elder. So let's go and throw down our stuff. And eventually you will see a purple shield, and ideally you want to see the Shaper at all times. He's going to be the one that usually gets you killed, and if he has the purple shield, then swap targets. So our Vault Ice Shot is ready. I'm going to resummon my Ice Golem, but make sure you can see where Shaper is at all times. He's going to be doing the beam. We're going to sit inside the donut. Unfortunately, we got a little circle chasing us. We got to watch out. This is why I like running lots of flasks in this, is because, well, he's going to do the beam over here, and we can go ahead and pop another heal. And we want to make sure we kill these adds, as they can spawn in degens, and that's no good. Pop all of these in like the corners if you can, ideally. So now who can we attack? Oh, you still got the shield. Make sure you kill all the adds. You don't want extra degens to come in, and they will cause problems. But make sure, again, you can see Shaper at all times. When he does the beam, this is kind of your attack window. We got him down halfway already. He's doing the slam attack. We got the donut coming out. I'm going to try to pop this kind of on the edge over here. Ideally, you can throw them on top of each other, but it's kind of challenging to do that. Alright, so this fight gets out of control, in my personal opinion. If you don't have just a bunch of life blasts, so that's why I like having a bunch. Woo! So the Shaper still has the shield on top of him, as you can see. This used to be one of the final fights in the game, so it is like a pretty challenging fight. I remember the first time I walked in, I was like, dude, there's like no way you can do this, because it's just like, it's 2 bosses at the same time. One of them's got a shield. But again, try to look for where the heck Shaper is, because you don't want him to like surprise you with anything. That's bad. Right, he's currently shielded right now. So once they do the little donut thing, you kind of want to stand inside, but you can wait until it pops. It doesn't do its damage until it like pops. We ripped, unfortunately, and that's okay. That's not too bad for our first little run here. As long as you get it done. You got 6 portals. We're going to use more than one. most of the time, unless you have like a super insanely OP build, and I kept the build relatively budget friendly. We could throw things out there like Nimbus, which would absolutely like destroy the fight, but for the intents and purposes of it being like a beginner's guide, I'm not going to throw in like multiple divines in terms of pieces of gear. I feel like that would be kind of mean for a beginner's guide. I mean, yeah, you can farm up. Like, that's definitely a option if you want to. But we're going to just try to focus in on Shaper a little bit here, as we want to try to take him out. Ooh. And ideally, you can throw them on top of each other like this. This is why I like running multiple life flasks. Oh, he's doing his laser. This is why I love, you see how we have a bunch of life flasks? It's a tough fight. It really is. He's doing his slam attack. Move out of the way. I think he slammed attacked my ice golem, so that kind of works out. I'm going to try to pop this over there. But the fight gets harder and harder as time goes on, and that is because there's going to be a bunch of degens. But make sure you kill these guys. You don't want more degens coming out. It makes the fight infinitely more difficult. Oh, we unfortunately took a bunch of the balls to the face. Those Shaper balls, by the way, hit for cold damage, so make sure you have a lot of cold resist. You can pump up your maximum cold resist, but it still does a bunch of armor or cold penetration, so it is quite a tough fight. And sometimes if you rip, as soon as you go in, it happens. I've been playing this game for a long time. If you hear him say gaze into the abyss, most of the time it's going to be a beam, but sometimes it just happens and he just like off screens you, and that's always the worst. Okay, so if we see if we can do enough damage to him. Oh, we're gonna be almost frozen here because the Elder does have that mechanic. He's gonna do his laser. This is our DPS window here. Big damage. We got him. And then we're gonna get the Elder. He's got some tentacle attacks. The tentacles hit for physical, but honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about that. That's not the main priority. Yeah, and we got it down. So again, the boss fight is not easy. Just as a heads up. That's why I like to have a ton of life loss. And so we got some items. None of these. Oh, well, we got a really awesome item. So what this is, when I went over the build, I didn't mention it, but the prismatic jewels are really good. Now this one, you can see, has 2 modifiers, as it has precision, vitality. It's at item level 85. This one that drops is going to be item level 86. So if it's an item level 86, it significantly increases the price. I could identify it and it could be worth like nothing. I would rather sell it 1000% for the 6.5 divines that it is worth, as well, that's going to be a significant increase in our build. Our whole build is maybe roughly about 2, maybe 3 divines in total, if you get most of the stuff at like reasonable prices. Nothing is really insane here in terms of our pieces of gear. Our bow is still 1000 DPS, although it does have high crit. But we crafted this, I'll say for about a divine. But I would always recommend, if you get any of these in the regular Elder fight or the Uber Elder, it's just much better to go ahead and sell these. That's my personal opinion. But if you're going to be farming, doing this as your endgame mechanic, as this build, genuinely with Nimbus, which is a pretty expensive item. I have a foiled version over here, but if I want just like any Nimbus, 15 divines, which is still kind of pricey, which is why I didn't equip it for the fight. But if you do get more currency, you can specifically farm bosses and do this as your form of endgame currency making strategy. But we got a couple other items just for the sake of the video. We can go ahead and identify them, see if any of them rolled cool. But for the most part, let's see, nothing really on that one that I was interested in. But this item can be worth something in the very beginning. It's probably a couple chaos. Okay, so it's like 3 chaos, and then this one over here. I'm not going to identify this one, but nothing really good, to be honest. But we also got the extra void stone, and we have 3 out of the 4 void stones completed now. But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this. And since I did swap up the build, I'll also leave the PoE.ninja for the swaps that we did. So the other swaps, ensnaring arrow, and then on top of that, I think I mentioned it before, but we swapped a blizzard crown instead of being able to teleport because, well, teleporting into areas where it can one-shot you is not very smart. But now that we got this other void stone, to get the final void stone, we're going to have to defeat the Maven, which is a very, very challenging fight. But that'll come up in the next one. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed it, drop a like on it, subscribe if you're new, and again, the PoE.ninjas will be linked, so you guys can go ahead and copy the build if you want to see exactly what I did use. So,